Let us begin, friends, with a new unit after completing the unit of understanding drama. We talked in detail about all the things that what exactly this genre drama means by. Let us begin with one of the plays that we had for our we have for our studies, that is Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. Actually, this play falls in a category of theatre of absurd. And theatre of absurd is a kind of theatre that was developed after World War II. Because after World War II, you will find out that there was certain unshakable basic assumptions of the age. And if you see very carefully, the Second World War, due to the mass destruction and terrible deaths, this Second World War, in a way, you can say, forced most of the people to decline the religious faith. And there's a sharp decline of religious faith, and a substitute for religion appeared by the way of nationalism and various totalitarian fallacies you will find out developed during and after Second World War. All the humanitarian approach was shattered by the war. By 1942, Albert Camus, because if you see the period of Second World War, 1939 to 1945, in 1942, Albert Camus, one of the very well-known novelist, German writer, was calmly putting certain questions. And the questions are why life had lost all the meaning. Man should not see escape in suicide. And these kinds of questions Albert Camus put forth in his very famous novel, The Myth of Sisyphus. And out of that myth of Sisyphus, the concept of absurd starts to get a momentum. Absurd means out of harmony. And if you see to it, that absurd is making you to live life meaningless, illogical, ridiculous, you can say in a simple words. And the whole sense of metaphysical anguish is at the absurdity. During this time, certain playwrights wrote plays. Playwrights like Samuel Beckett, Adamov, Ionesco, Genet, Pinter. These playwrights wrote play, and their writing discusses about the senselessness of life, inevitable devaluation of ideals, purity. And you will find out all these writers writing in the same fashion. At that time, there was a journalist called Martin Esslin. Martin Esslin who wrote about all these plays in his newspaper, he coined this term called theatre of absurd. So this term theatre of absurd was coined by Martin Esslin. If you see very carefully, the play which we are going to talk about, Waiting for Godot, is supposed to be the one of the best plays of theatre of absurd. This was written in 1952. Actually, Beckett wrote it in French and translated himself into English. He translated himself. And when it was translated in English, it was performed all across the world. On November 1957, this play, there is a very, very interesting story about this play. There was a prison in America named San Quentin. That is the name of the prison. And in the prison, after 44 years, the jailer decided that he should have a play to be performed in the jail in front of all these prisoners. Because to perform in front of prisoners was a very difficult task. If the performance was not liked, then the prisoners will hoot out, the prisoners will shout, and the prisoners will not allow anyone to perform the play. And that's why you will find out that it was a very difficult time for the actors also to perform that particular play in front of all these prisoners. And the curtain opened, and the play was performed. Next day, the newspaper reported that all the performance of the Waiting for Godot was appreciated by the prisoners. A big question mark, a big debate started to take place in the system that why and how this play was appreciated by all the prisoners. The reason is that this play talks about salvation, hope. And prisoners felt that the condition that the play was discussing about is the same condition that they are following, they are living with. If you look at the play, Waiting for Godot does not tell a story. It explores only a static situation. Nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes. It's awful. This is one of the dialogues in Waiting for Godot. If you see the play that I have posted on YouTube, on your WhatsApp group from YouTube, link I have posted. If you see that, on a country road, by the tree, two old tramps, Vladimir and Estragon, name of these two tramps, they are waiting. Now, if you look at the names given into this play, you'll find out these are the very interesting names. Vladimir usually is a name in Russian society. Estragon is a name somewhere in Spanish or French society. The play is talking about all the names that are universal. Characters are from across the world. And there are two tramps. They do not belong to any particular class, they do not belong to any particular caste, they do not belong to any particular religion, because they are tramps. Tramps, character like Charlie Chaplin, who used to wear such type of dress, that is tramp. And these two tramps are waiting on a countryside road. Now, this was the opening situation and beginning of Act 1. And by the end of Act 1, they informed that Mr. Godot, Godot, Mr. Godot, with whom they believe they have an appointment, cannot come, but he'll come tomorrow surely. This was the statement at the end of Act 1. Act 2 begins with the same situation, with the same pattern. The same boy comes who comes at the end of Act 1 and delivers the same message as he delivered the message in Act 1. And Act 1, as Act 1 ends with the dialogue, well, shall we go? And Vladimir says, yes, let us go. And they, after saying that, they do not move. What is supposed to be? Look at very interesting thing. When somebody says, let us go, and doesn't move, there is a contradiction in saying and doing. They are not doing what they are saying. So Vladimir says, let us go, and they do not move. That is the end of first act. And the second act ends with the same dialogue, but spoken by the same characters in reversed order. They spoke the same dialogue in reverse order. Now, if you look at the sequence of the events and the dialogues in each act, which are different, each time the two tramps in first act, in second act, each time these two tramps encounter with another pair of character, that is Pozo and Lucky. Pozo is master, Lucky is slave. And both meet this another couple, another pair, in a very different or differing circumstances. In each act, you will find out Vladimir and Estragon attempt suicide and fail. They attempted suicide for differing reasons. But these variations, reasons may be differ, circumstances may be differ, but these variations merely serve to emphasize the essential sameness of the situation. They're waiting. They're waiting for whom? They're waiting for Godot. When the play was performed in America, the American director, Alan Schinder, he met Godot and he met Beckett and asked Beckett that what was the meaning of Godot? Godot. And he received answer from Beckett that if I knew, I would have said so in the play. I don't know who is Beckett, who is Godot. But they are waiting. Now, if you see, this is you can say salutary warning to anyone who approaches Beckett's play with an intention that he will discover something or he can understand something, or the play demonstrate something exact and in a defining terms what they mean by. You may be disappointed because Beckett And you'll find out that Beckett and his intention is more complex, is having a multitude of additional interpretations. You can find thousands and thousands of pages of interpretation of Shakespeare's Hamlet, coming with the most concise statements, its meaning, its message. It's precisely because there is no ambiguities. What Shakespeare wants to say through Hamlet is very clear cut. But what Beckett wants to say with this particular play is not very much clear. It depends, it varies from person to person. As I yesterday told, the performance theorist Richard Schachner said about the closed plot and open plot. Now, if you see, when these two characters standing on a countryside road at the same place, other people are coming and going. Other people means the two characters, another pair, Lucky and Pozo, and one boy. These are the three characters, those come and go. These three characters can come and go, but the two characters, Vladimir and Estragon, they stay same at the same place. The place is same, the words are same, the situation is same, circumstances are different, reasons are different. Vladimir and Estragon, who called each other Didi and Gogo, although Vladimir is addressed by this boy messenger as Mr. Albert, and Estragon, when asked his name, replies without any hesitation. He says, "My name is Catulus, Catullus." Now, if you see these two names, Mr. Albert and Catulus, these two names Beckett derived from the pairs of crosstalk comedians of music halls. These are some of the crosstalks comedians somewhere in music halls. And if you see, Beckett is interested in pointing out about the repetitive quality of the crosstalk comedian pattern. Repetitive quality. And if you see the tradition of music hall, or you can say in circus, there is an element of crude physical humor. And if you see the play, you will find that this crude physical humor was part of these two tramps' behavior. In the play, Estragon loses his trouser. There is a protracted gag involving the three hats that put on head and off, just as the Joker in a circus used to do. Putting three hats in a sequence, trying to show the condition of unending confusions in life. There are somehow 45 stage directions given into that particular play, indicating that one of the character leaves the upright position, which symbolizes the dignity of man. Every movement in the play symbolizes with human behavior. Vladimir and Estragon, these two characters, they are projecting the members of the crosstalk act. If you see, Vladimir is more practical of the two. And Estragon claims to have been a poet. In eating his carrot, Estragon finds that the more he eats of it, the less he likes it. While Vladimir reacts opposite way. He likes the things as he gets used to them. Estragon is volatile, Vladimir is persistent. Estragon dreams, Vladimir cannot stand hearing about dreams. Vladimir has stinking breath, Estragon has stinking feet. Vladimir remembers the past events, Estragon tends to forget them as soon as they have happened. Estragon likes telling funny tales. Vladimir is absolutely upset by those funny stories and funny tales. It is mainly Vladimir who voices the hope that Godot will come and the situation will change. While Estragon remains skeptical throughout and at times even forgets the name of Godot. Now it is Vladimir who conducts the conversation with the boy who is the Godot's messenger, and to whom the boy message is naturally Vladimir. The boy talks with Vladimir only. If you look at this whole comparison of Vladimir and Estragon, you will find that Estragon is the weaker of these two. Amongst the two, Estragon is the weaker character. He is beaten up by mysterious strangers every night. And Vladimir acts as his protector. Sings him to sleep with a lullaby and covers him with his coat. Now, if you look at this the opposition of their temperaments, is the cause of endless bickering between them. And it often leads to the suggestion that they should get apart. Their nature is complementary to each other, if you understand this. Because they are completely dependent on each other and they have to stay together. If you look this particular one pair, Vladimir and Estragon, they are representing their condition, they are representing their position. The another pair in the play is Lucky and Pozo. Pozo and Lucky both again are equally complementary in their nature. But the relationship between Pozo and Lucky is on mere primitive level. Pozo is sadistic master and Lucky is the submissive slave. In the first act, when you see this pair coming on the crossroad and meeting Vladimir and Estragon. In the first act, Pozo is rich, powerful, and certain of himself. Pozo represents worldly man in all his facile and short-sighted optimism, and he's having illusory feeling of power and permanence, that I am the permanent rich one. Lucky, on the other hand, carrying the heavy baggage and even whipped with hunter, Pozo beats him. Lucky dances for Pozo. Lucky even thinks for Pozo, if you see into the play. Now, in fact, you'll find out Lucky taught Pozo all the higher values of life. Slave is teaching to master higher values of life, such as he used to say beauty, grace, truth of the first water. Such type of values he is teaching to Pozo. Now, if you see the relationship between Lucky and Pozo, this relationship represents the relationship between body and mind, the material and spiritual side of man, with intellect subordinate to the appetites of body. This is the real-time situation of human life. Who controls the body? Mind. Material side and spiritual side, there is always a conflict between the two. And if you are intellectual, if your appetite is full, then you can have your intellectual activity. So intellect subordinate the appetite. If every intellectual man is supposed to be the rich, then every intellectual man should be rich. No. Rich persons cannot be claimed to be an intellectual. So the couple, the pair of Lucky and Pozo, represents these three things: body and mind, material side and spiritual side, and intellect subordinate the appetite of body. Now that Lucky's powers are failing, Pozo complains that they cause him untold suffering, because Lucky is his mind, Lucky is intellect, Lucky is material side of life, sorry, spiritual side of life. When Lucky's power are failing, Pozo wants to get rid of Lucky and sell him at the fair. But in the second act, when they appear once again, they are still tied together in the second act also. But here, Pozo has gone blind and Lucky become dumb. If you look in the first act, Lucky was speaking so much. Now in the second act, this Lucky was not at all. This Lucky was not at all talking to this particular, his master Pozo, because Pozo became blind. While Pozo drives Lucky on a journey without an apparent goal, Vladimir had prevailed upon Estragon to wait for Gautam. This was the situation in second act. Now if you see, a good deal of ingenuity has been expended in trying to establish at least an etymology of the name of Godot. What is Godot? They want to establish the name of Godot. Beckett, as a playwright, is conscious or is very much conscious or subconscious with his intention in making Godot the objective of Vladimir and Estragon's quest. Godot is why they are waiting for, because Godot will come and he will take them out of this critical situation. It has been suggested that the word Godot is a weakened form of the word God. Godot is a weakened form of God, a kind of a diminutive formed on analogy of something like when you say Charles and Charlotte, Pierre and Pierrette. This is a kind of diminutive word that we usually in our day-to-day life. Mangesh become Mangya, Nilesh become Nilya, something like this diminutive form. Godot is weakened form of the word Godot, God. Now it has also been noted that in French, the title of the play is En Attendant Godot. Now Godot stands for God. And when it was asked, as I said to you, to Samuel Beckett, he rejected that idea. Now, if you see the parallels that are part of the play, they are very striking to show that this is a mere coincidence that is taking place most of the time in the play. Beckett is actually fond of James Joyce. He loved James Joyce very much. He even reconciled the literary allusions used by James Joyce. So we find out in Beckett's play, the arrival of Godot is eagerly awaited. Whether Godot is meant to suggest the intervention of supernatural agency, or whether he stands for a mythical human being whose arrival is expected to change the situation that happens in mythologies. Some divine power will intervene in between and help us to get out of the critical situations that we are stuck in. Or both of these possibilities. But if you see very carefully, the subject of this play is not Godot. Please understand this fact. The subject of this play is not Godot. The subject of this play is waiting. The act of waiting. Waiting as an essential and characteristic aspect of human condition. Look at the thing, you wait. We wait for everything in our life. Waiting is part of human life, human condition. Throughout our lives, we wait for something. And Godot represents simply the objective of our waiting. We are waiting for something. What is that something? The objective. And Godot is the object of that particular thing. What is the object? We have some object for which we are waiting. The object is something like any event or certain thing, or at the last we can say death. What are we doing? What are we living for? We are living a life. We are struggling throughout the life. And what would be the ultimate end? Ultimate end is death. Living everything here in this world. If you see this, moreover, it is in the act of waiting that we experience the flow of time in its purest and most evident form. Have you ever tried to wait? Look out, we are waiting for students for 10 more minutes. And the 10 minutes are not passing very quickly. We have to wait. Okay, there is 1 minute left, 2 minutes left. Waiting for someone, waiting for a phone call, waiting for a friend to meet, waiting for the date of examination, waiting for everything. And if you are active, you forget the time because the time passes very quickly. You pass the time. But if we are merely passively waiting, we are confronted with the action of time itself. You'll find out that Beckett points out in his analysis of Proust, one of the plays, and he says there is no escape from the hours and the days, neither from tomorrow nor from yesterday, because yesterday has deformed us or been deformed by us. Yesterday is a milestone that has been passed, but a day stone on the beaten track of the years, and we are irredeemably part of it. We are part of this whole process. Being subject to this process, the process of time flowing through us, changing us in doing so, we are at no single moment in our lives identical with ourselves. We are different at every time, every moment. We are not the same as we are at 11 o'clock. And because we are not identical with ourselves, we are disappointed at the nullity of what we are pleased to call attainment. Attain some certain things. The identification of the subject with the object of desire, what you want, your desire. And you want to fulfill your desire. Because you want to achieve that particular status, you want to achieve that particular condition. If Godot is the object of Vladimir and Estragon's desire, he seems naturally ever beyond their reach, because not all the desires of ours are going to be fulfilled. What is our common desire? What is our usual desire? Our usual desire is that we should have a luxurious house, we can have a lot of money, we should be rich. The desires, multiple desires human beings have. If he is having a bicycle, he wants moped. If he is having a moped, he wants a scooter. If he is having a scooter, he wants a motorcycle. If he is having a motorcycle, he wants to have a car. If he is having a car, he wants a luxurious car. If he is having a luxurious car, he wants more priced car. If he is having a car, he wants to have an helicopter. If he is having a helicopter, he wants to have a yacht. Desires. 1 room, then 2 room, 3 room, 4 room, palace. Unending desires. Simple mobile, smartphone, advanced mobile, Apple phone, S10, Apple. So advanced. You want to have all those things. Desires. Whether all the desires are fulfilled? No. All the desires are not fulfilled. Same thing with Vladimir and Estragon. Their desire is to meet Godot. And Godot never meets them. It is very much significant that the boy who acts as go-between fails to recognize the pair from day to day. The pair doesn't recognize. The boy who appeared in the first act, by the end of the first act, the same boy will appear at the end of the second act, but the pair never recognizes that they have seen this boy earlier. The boy even denies that he has seen these two tramps before, and he insists that this is the first time he has acted as Godot's messenger. He was not regular Godot's messenger. First time he was the Godot's messenger. And as the boy leaves, Vladimir tries to impress it upon him by telling that, you are sure you saw me? You won't come. Come and tell me tomorrow that you never saw me before. And the boy does not reply. And we, as an audience or as a reader, come to know that he will again fail to recognize them. What this situation is talking about, what this situation is telling all about? Can we be sure that the human beings we meet are the same today as they were yesterday? The human to whom you meet yesterday will be the same tomorrow? You will answer, sir, yes, what is the change? He is the same face, same body, same. Yes, same thing is there, but will he be the same today? No. Would you be the same every day? No, you are not the same every day. You are changing continuously. You are not the same. You are not the same person. When Pozo and Lucky first appear, Vladimir and Estragon seems to recognize them. Estragon even takes Pozo for Godot. But after they have gone, Vladimir comments that they have changed since their last appearance. And Estragon insists that he didn't know them. Human being never remains the same. He changes continuously. And about the talk, Vladimir says, yes, you do. No, yes, you do know them. Estragon, no, I don't know them. Vladimir, we know them. I tell you, you forget everything. Pause to himself. Unless they are not the same. Estragon, why didn't they recognize us then? Vladimir, That means nothing. I too pretended not to recognize them, and then nobody ever recognizes us. This is what a human behavior is. This is what the human intention is. If you see very carefully, this particular condition that Beckett is trying to talk about, Beckett is trying to discuss about. If you look at this particular condition, you will understand that how human life, human condition, which is based on waiting throughout the life, discussed very categorically by Beckett. In the second act, when Pozo and Lucky reappear, they are cruelly deformed by the action of time. Pozo is blind and Lucky is dumb. Vladimir and Estragon, again they have their doubts whether they are the same people they met on the previous day. They have the doubts that whether these are the same people we met yesterday. And nor does Pozo remember them. Pozo also doesn't remember them. And he said this dialogue, I don't remember having met anyone yesterday, but tomorrow I won't remember having met anyone today. This is how a common condition of human understanding, human being. This is how human being behaves. And this is how Beckett is trying to discuss, Beckett is trying to point out that how human being is waiting and waiting for the things. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow at 11:30.